All right, we're going to move on to the next session here, joining the next generation. Proverbs chapter 5, verse 18 and 19 say these words, "Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love." The pursuit of godly seed is not a one-generation thing, brethren. If our hearts are filled with God's burden for sanctified children, we will look way beyond our present generation. I think that I've made that clear all week long. If our hearts are truly set for a godly seed, we will be looking way beyond where we are right here. I hope by now that you have caught the vision of what God is longing for. God is pursuing godly seed with all his heart. And this burden reaches into the realm of marriage partners for our children. This is not a little issue. We have one more strategy that I want to consider here. If we stop and think about it, we all know this is not a little issue. Ponder this. You can lose much of the work that you have invested for 20 years if you stand idly by and allow your children to fall in love with whoever comes by. You can lose nearly 20 years of labor. We need to wake up on that one. That's not a little thing. That's right. As a pastor, for the last 20 years, I have seen this happen a few times. It is a great burden every time I see it. I have seen the whole next generation lost by a foolish love affair. Can I say it that way? That ended in a marriage that mom and dad did not want. But what could they do about it? It seems to me to be utter folly, after you have spent 20 years training your children, to then send them out into a mixed up Christian world to find a partner all on their own. This is folly, in my opinion. They say that the divorce rate is now 50% in the Christian church. Could this whole matter of joining the next generation have anything to do with his devastation? I do believe that it does. I don't think we're doing wisely. Children are growing up and they are thrust out into a mixed up, confused Christianity. Their hearts mesh with somebody else. They fall in love, they get married, and then all of a sudden they find out what reality is all about, and it's not very good. The scriptures are full of examples of a sweet and a happy marriage. The text above, the one I just read, is one of those examples. There are others. I believe there are things that we parents can do that will help our children to have the reality of this blessed experience that we read here in Proverbs chapter 5. The whole appeal of these verses is to stay with the wife that you chose in your youth and enjoy a happy marriage. Now, I studied this text a bit, and if I understand it properly, that word fountain there is referring to the children of that union. Let thy fountain, let thy children of your union be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. Stay with your partner. And that is exactly what God is saying to us out of Malachi chapter 2 and verse 15. I made them one so that the next generation would receive an overflowing blessing that flows out of a godly union between a husband and a wife. Here's my plea in this meditation here this morning. Parents, please get involved. I know there are lots of opinions today There's lots of little different slants on courtship and how the next generation is joined in holy matrimony. I know there are different opinions on that, and I'm not going to cover all of those different opinions in this message, but I would make this plea. Parents, please get involved in the joining of the next generation of your children. That's my plea. The whole issue is parental involvement. This whole thing is coming back out of the closet in the last 15 years. Some parents are waking up and saying, hey, wait a minute. Something isn't turning out right here. This isn't how we did it. This isn't how I got married. I had to see what Dad thought about it. I had to ask my mom what she thought about him. And they're dragging this whole thing of parental involvement back out of the closet. And I think it is a wise move, no matter what the different opinions on how it's all done, that mom and dad are being brought back into this whole plan of the children getting married, I think is a blessing. There are several voices in our land that are calling us back to the old paths of Bible courtship and parental involvement. And I'm one more of those voices. There's no way that I, in this short amount of time, can cover all the things about godly courtship. However, I do desire to at least stir up your interest so that you will look into it more fully if you haven't already. Most of our children are not able to seek their life partner without some outside input. That's my opinion. There are simply too many gray areas that undiscerning youth cannot see through. I will give them in a moment. The young people need your 20 plus years of experience to guide them through the maze of this mixed up gray Christian world that we're living in today. I mean, no offense to any youth when I say that, but it is harder than you youth may think it is to come up with the right godly partner for your life's partner. In the Bible, we learn that the father exercised his influence with his child before they were ready to be married. Abraham arranged a bride for Isaac. It seems this was common in his day. When a young man was seeking a wife, he sought permission from her father. In addition, the father gave the word to his son when it was time to go and get his bride. The parents were involved, this is clear. There are several reasons that I would like to bring out here this morning why I feel it's important for the parents to get involved. Number one, because of false Christians. We live in America, the Christian nation, in quotes. Millions stake their claim on the Christian faith. Many professors are not possessors of the real thing. Bless God. Sincere youth are tricked into marriage only to find out later there's no substance to their partner's Christianity at all. This is a lifelong tragedy. Awesome. The parents are the ones who can stop it. These false professors sound very good when you talk to them. They can wax eloquent. They have their theologies. They can say all the right things. You ask them questions about their faith, they'll give you theological answers. They may even quote you a Bible verse. Our young people are not mature enough to discern all of this. Some of them are. Some of them are not. They need our help. We parents, through proper teaching, should lay the groundwork for this kind of involvement. And by that I mean that our children expect that we are going to get involved when it's time for them to choose a godly mate. Through teaching, we should lay that foundation so that when that time comes, it's very relaxed and the child is already knowing this thing has to be cleared with mom and dad's. A mutual understanding on this point is imperative. Lead your child to covenant with you. I will not release my emotions without your blessing. Second reason why moms and dads need to get involved. Divorce is becoming very, very common. 50% in the church. I wish it was not this way, but it is. The possibility of a partner breaking the marriage vows is very high today. It happens all the time. It must be stopped. the Christian ideals of marriage have dropped very, very low, and the binding power of those vows are gone. Dear parents, I think most of us still believe that marriage is for life. But we must protect our children from the tragic separations that are happening everywhere today. If we believe that marriage is for life, and we allow our children to hook up with somebody who doesn't have a deep commitment like that, they're going to let them set someday, and guess what? There's not another one to go to. That's right. Marriage is for life, till death do us part. That makes it very urgent that we not allow our children to just flip off into the world somewhere, or into the Christian world, or into some youth group somewhere, fall in love with some guy or some gal, and get married because they had a flitter-flutter inside their heart over them. Only to find out 5 years later, those vows didn't mean a thing to that person, and they leave them set with 2 or 3 children. I'm telling you, it happens all the time. If we are not alert, it will spoil the next generation, brethren. I meet many Christian men who are afraid to get married because of this very reason right here. I mean, I've heard them say it. I'm afraid to get married. Oh, why? Oh, he said, out there where I'm at, people get married and divorced all the time, and I believe marriage is for life, and I don't want to get a woman who's going to drop me. Our children need our discernment in these things. We must get involved. We must teach our children that it's right for us to get involved. Lay the groundwork. A third reason, emotions are very powerful. There is a lot of truth in the old adage, love is blind. Once the heart falls in love, it is almost too late to try to change things. The youth cannot see straight anymore. This is the power of emotions. Many a parent tried to turn the thing around after the heart had already fallen, and they only ended up with conflict and bitterness and discontent and a division in their family, and the youth went off and got married anyway. This is the power of emotions, and that is from God. God designed us that way, but God designed us that way that all the power of all those emotions would be given to one for life. Amen. When these emotions are released in a proper relationship, it is most beautiful. It's Proverbs chapter 5, like I just read to you, so beautifully describes what these emotions can be like. But when these emotions are released on the wrong person, they are just as powerful and just as hard to stop. Many waters cannot quench love, even if it's love to the wrong kind of person. Many waters cannot quench it. You can sit them down and offer them anything, and they will not take it. Lay the groundwork. That's the plea that I'm making. You lay the groundwork in your teachings with your children so that they understand, when I get up there in age, I will keep my heart. I will not let some fella or some girl throw me some note. If I get a note, I'll bring it to my dad. And my dad will go see the fella. With a furrowed eyebrow, by the way. Yes. Young man, I have a few things to say to you. I understand you gave my daughter a little note. Yes, I did. I believe that's the way it ought to be. We need to protect our daughters and we need to protect our sons. But more so, we need to protect our daughters. Number 4, you have the issue of the possibility that they're not compatible. I've given some strong reasons up until now. But this one is not so strong, but it is still a reason. Sometimes a couple is simply not compatible. There may be many different reasons for this. Their convictions may be different, and that can hinder a marriage. It may be they were raised in a different culture. This can also be a problem in a marriage. Young people need help in discerning all of these things. That's what the parents are for. And the 5th reason is the best reason. The rewards of a happy marriage. We want our children to have a happy marriage. As God says in Malachi 2:15, secures a godly seed for the next generation. We want our children to have a happy marriage. This is the most urgent point that I've made. All the rest were negative, but this one's positive, and it's the most important one of all. I've been a pastor now for 20 years. I now have a long list of couples who have followed this old-fashioned way to get married. Guess what? They all have happy marriages.